Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video, we're talking about PlayStation 3, Arcade1up, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about Arcade1up, and it appears that they may have found themselves sitting in some hot water. Apparently, according to this post on Reddit Emulation, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It asks the question, Arcade1up Simpsons unit in violation of the GPL. The Arcade1up Simpsons bowling unit is reportedly based on Duckstation, which is a GPL 3 licensed project. Arcade1up are actively denying requests for the source code when the GPL requires for them to make it available. Interestingly enough, that Reddit post was based on this one here from Reddit Arcade1up. It's titled Simpsons Bowling Runs under Duckstation. This person was able to get a hold of the updated APKs thanks to a friend letting them extract the application files, and they made an interesting discovery. The application responsible for Simpsons Bowling, it's using Duckstation to do the emulation. Now, to possibly make matters even worse, apparently this is not the first time that Arcade1up has been accused of using free, open source, and non-commercially licensed emulators in their commercial products. Ndrift here, the lead developer of MGBA, says, "Hey Arcade1up, can I get the source code for your Mega Man HDMI box? You're using the GPL v2 emulator FCEU-MM, so you're legally obligated to provide it. You also have SNES 9X, GPSP, Stella, MGBA, and Genesis Plus GX on here, a few of which are non-commercial licenses." These series of tweets from Ndrift date back to 2021, and Ndrift even says here, it could possibly be straight up copyright violation on Arcade1up's part. I think it would be fair to assume that Stenzek, the developer of Duckstation, wouldn't be happy about this news, considering they've been vocal before in the past about not liking people making money off of their work. It's worth pointing out that I'm not a lawyer. I've got no idea how this would hold up in court if it was actually brought to court, but if they were proven to be violating GPL licensing, I don't think that would be a good look for them. On top of that, if it turns out they're using free and open source emulators, there wouldn't be much of a difference between an Arcade1up cabinet and possibly something like a Raspberry Pi. I'd also be lying if I wasn't curious to hear your thoughts on this matter. Let me know in the comments below. But moving on, and we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation with RPCS3, and RPCS3 just got a brand new update. I might have missed this one yesterday, but if you pick up the latest build of RPCS3, it should have brand new output scaling options under the GPU menu and settings. RPCS3 is free, it's open source, and as far as I know, it's not featured in any Arcade1up cabinets, and you can find it at rpcs3.net. I'll leave a link in the description below. Moving on now, and we're talking about Lakka, and Lakka version 4.3 was just released. So in version 4.3, they've updated RetroArch to version 1.14.0. Cores have been updated to their most recent versions. Mesa was updated to version 22.1.7. They've added an image here to the Orange Pi 4 LTS, which uses an RK3399. Interesting here, the Orange Pi has been gaining in popularity. They've added support for more Nintendo Switch variants. They've updated the Linux kernel for the mainline Raspberry and Amlogics builds. Next up here, we're talking about Dig, an emulation front end on Android. This is not an emulator in itself. It's a front end for your emulation needs. It basically works with your emulators and works with your ROMs. It organizes everything and tries to make it look nice and pretty. So in version 1.44, which just dropped, we've got bug fixes, performance improvements. It now works with Aethir SX2 and PPSSPP. If you haven't checked out Dig in a while, it might be worth checking out. If you haven't updated it in a while, you might want to update it. But moving on, and we're talking about Xbox emulation with XEMU or XEMU, or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, depending on how you want to interpret that. There's a brand new version of XEMU up and available for download, version 0.7.82. If you're on Linux in general with XEMU, you're going to be happy. It says here, running XEMU on your Linux machine is now easier than ever. In addition to the Ubuntu PPA, Arch AUR, and FlatHub releases, XEMU now ships app images. Simply download the app image, mark it executable, and run. This, in my opinion, is a big step forward for XEMU and makes it a little bit more accessible to some people. If you haven't checked out XEMU yet, it's free, it's open source, and I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Next up, I've got a quick but fun one for you. We're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on PC with Ryujinx. And Ryujinx has just added in support for Kazuya and Sephiroth amiibo. And last up here, and most certainly not least, we're still talking about Switch emulation on PC, but this time talking about YUZU. And the huge graphics update for YUZU has now dropped. So in mainline build 1311, it adds in 1.5 times, 7 times, and 8 times resolution scaling values for 1080p to 1620p users, and users with high-end systems. They say here, please note that 1.5 times scaling value can cause graphical issues, and that is due to some games needing subsampling. So if you pick up the latest version of YUZU, which is free and open source, go to emulation and then configure, click on graphics, you should see the new configuration options right here. We've got 1.5 times, 7 times, and 8 times resolution scaling. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a ton today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.